Hi, how are you tonight? Sorry I'm late, and I just realized my computer went into sleeping mode, so I'll have to wake it up in a minute. Jeez. You have to keep moving the mouse or it does that. So anyway, I had just a really nice day out with a friend. We went for coffee, we went thrift shopping, we went gift shop shopping, we went to lunch. We just wandered all over the place, and then I got stuck in a whole bunch of crazy traffic on the way home because they were painting the lines on the road. You know how that is. So by the time I got home and fed the cats and everything, I realized 7 o'clock really just wasn't going to happen. So I appreciate you hanging with me if you did, and if not, I hope you'll catch me on the replay. I will turn the camera down so we can get started, and I just have to play with my computer a little bit, and we'll get going. Okay. And then, as usual, just have to make a little adjustment here. And then a little adjustment here. All right, I wonder how far forward I can really get this. I've never tried to get it any further forward, and I'm concerned that like my head might get in the way sometimes, but sometimes that's almost a necessity. So hang on, I gotta wake up my computer, and you're probably gonna see my arms. Yes, and I just hit the thing. Okay, I don't think that's ever happened. Alrighty. So now I just need to find me. Alright, again, I appreciate your patience. And I should be here now. Okay, I also forgot to mute myself, so I did that so you don't have to hear me twice. And there, okay, there I am. Oh, so we got some bad lighting again. I don't know. It is what it is, I guess, until I figure out how to make it better. I've got like 4 different lights on here, and that one I just feel like makes it brighter but casts some shadows. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. So this is my host code, and by the way, thank you to those of you who've placed orders already this month, probably due to the paper sale and having bonus points from last month's order, so thank you very much. If you're going to place an order in the month of August, please use this host code unless your order comes to more than $150 before tax and shipping, and then don't use the host code. Maybe just shoot me a message letting me know that you placed an order. Stampin' Up! Should notify me, but sometimes I don't always see that fast enough, and I'd like to know if you placed an order. And then you will get rewards that you can use. And as I always say, if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to ask, because I don't want you to lose out on those. So if you placed an order in July, forget that host code because it's not July anymore, you should have received an email with codes. As long as you spent $50 or more, you'd get a minimum of 1 code. If you spent more than $50, you'd get more than 1 code, and you can start to use those now, July 3rd, August, I think yesterday you could start using them. It might have been August 1st. No, it was August 1st through August 31st. You can use those codes. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. If you lost your codes, you can call demonstrator support, and they will reissue them to you. They're never happy about it, but they will certainly do it. So starting August 6th, which also happened because today's the 7th, so that was yesterday, we have a designer series paper sale. This is only on the designer series paper that's in the annual catalog. So that is this catalog right here, the 24-25 catalog. And it does not include the in color family or any of the color family papers, but it includes 6x6 papers as well as 12x12 papers, just not those particular color family papers. All right, so it's we got 6, 10, so it's 14 different papers that are on sale, 15% off, and that's a pretty good price. All right, so check that out if you haven't already. And my calendar for August. Take a look at that, if you will. It'll give you some inspiration ideas and maybe some other good things. I now have an actual copy of the new September to December mini catalog in my hands. I'm going to turn that off and see. It's not better, it's not worse, but I think there's less glare. I still can't show you the inside, and I know that's kind of annoying because here I am teasing you with it, but there really are some nice things in there. And I have to say, it's one of those things, I think I say this every year, you probably get tired of hearing it. Look at the catalog online, especially because we have to look at it online for a while. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. There's a few things there I like, but not a lot of things. Then I get my hand on the actual catalog, and all of a sudden, I'm liking more and more things. And of course, that happened this year as well. Okay, so kind of like I said last week, I'm not necessarily doing the whole avid casual beginner stamper thing, but some of these cards will sort of fit into that category. So this first card is very simple. It's definitely a simple stamping card or a stamp inks and paper SIP card. I'm starting with a regular card base of Azure Afternoon, which is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I've got a 4 by 5 1/4 inch top layer, and the same thing for the liner. Okay, so we're going to put these aside for a minute, and this one is just going to involve some stamping, and I probably should tell you what we're using, right? So we are using the Round We Go bundle, and I've started trying to label these so that you can see the information about them, because sometimes people message me and say, where can I find that? You know, what's the number? How much does it cost? So this is from the annual catalog, the one I just showed you, the cover of the larger one, on page 63. The item number is here. It's $45 for the bundle. If you want just the stamp set, it's $20, and the dies are $30. This is one of those times when I would tell you to definitely go for the bundle, because the dies are really a lot of what makes this bundle so exciting. And you save 10% when you buy the bundle. All right, and the dies, let me show you real quick. These are the dies. So this die, which I'll show you in a little while, makes a rosette. We'll talk about that. And then we have these dies which cut out some of the things that we're just about to stamp. And then some really cool dies that cut out circles, a scalloped circle, and more like a, I don't know, what would you call that? Almost like pinking shear, you know, circles. And these do not actually cut out something, but they cut a hole in something. Hope that makes sense. All right, so, excuse me. I have not used any of these stamps yet. I had to think about that, but no, I really don't think I have used any of these stamps yet. So I'm going to get some scrap paper, because as I think I've told you before, first of all, they're photopolymer stamps, so that's why I've got out my little foam pad here, so that we have some cush. When I have never used a stamp before, I find, and I heard this from Australian demonstrator Donna Gray, that she found, and I do too, that whether there's a coating on it or whatever, with the photopolymer stamps, you want to kind of stamp it and just smoosh it a little bit, and then you want to get your Stampin' Chamois or whatever you use to clean your stamps with and clean it off. And you want to do that with each one before you use it. So for this particular card, I'm going to use both the large one and the small one, and they're both a little bit different. Did you see that? I was trying to stamp some water. Okay, there we go. And let's see, since I haven't figured out which sentiment I'm using for what yet, I guess I better do this with all of them real quick. So just kind of ink it up, stamp it, smush it, and if there truly is some type of a coating on it, it seems to take it off, and it just seems to stamp better than when I just use it for the first time without doing this. Could be my imagination, you know, who knows, but no harm in doing it. It just takes a couple of minutes. And then clean it. So it's kind of ink up, smush, and then clean. Ink up, smush, and then clean. All right, and then I think I have one more. I didn't smush the first time, so I smushed again. All right, and then you do want to make sure that your stamps are dry before you start using them, okay? All right, so the 3 colors that I'm using for this card are, are Pretty in Pink, Summer Splash, and Petunia Pop. And I just kind of had this little epiphany where I wondered why I picked this color base, but I really just like that color, and I'm hoping that they will look okay together. But either way, you'll get to see me make the card, and then you can decide if you like the color combo or not. All right, this one still has some gunk on it. Let me clean it off. So these are, they can be or might not be, it's up to you, they can be a 2-step stamp. All right, and I'll show you how that works. And 2-step stamping is not always my thing. I'm going to be really honest with you. So I'm going to start with the Petunia Pop, I think. And basically what we're doing is we're just stamping with we're not using any of the dies right now. So, okay, so now I can see that this one, I'm not liking the way this looks. And sometimes that happens. So I'm going to stamp off again. And of course, the Petunia Pop is a much darker color. And then I'm going to ink up again. Now I know it's more dry, and we'll see if that's better. So this one I'm going to go off the corner a little bit. So I'm stamping, and then I'm going to turn the stamp around just the tiniest bit without re-inking and stamp again. So what it's doing is it's giving us a double image, and you can see there I did not do a fantastic job, but I'm okay with that for this particular card because it's kind of a fun card, and I just don't think it's going to matter too much. Although I did get some ink on my pad there, so I might want to just bring back my scrap paper if I'm going to stamp off. All right, so when you do clean your stamps, if your chamois kind of wet, try to dry it off. I'm wearing light colored pants today, so I can't do this on my pants like I can when I'm wearing jeans, or at least I shouldn't. All right, so we're going to do the Petunia Pop again, and I'm going to go over to a spot here, and I'm also going to stamp off, and then I'm just going to twist it without picking it up so much. I think that'll be better, and that did come out better, but I could have twisted a little bit more, but again, I'm just not all worried about that. Okay, and maybe I'll even do one more, because that's my favorite of these 3 colors. Not that I don't like them all, but this is definitely my favorite of the 3. So this time, I think I'll stamp a little bit down here, and I'm also going to go off, and then pick it up and turn it, and this time I'll try to turn it a little bit more. That's better. Still not perfect, but we're not looking for perfect. And I don't just say that because I didn't do it well. I say that because it's really true. We're not looking for perfect. Okay. Now, do I want to switch to this? So that was the smaller one. Okay, so now for the larger one, let's get rid of the Petunia Pop. And let's do the Summer Splash. Okay. So this one is larger. Now you notice this one has little sort of triangular points on the tip. Let me hold that up so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so you see the tips on that are triangular, and on this one they're kind of scalloped, I guess I would call it. I'm actually going to stick this one smack in the middle, stamp down, and then twist a little and stamp again. Okay. So it's very faint, but you can see it. And I'm almost wondering, I'm thinking maybe I might do one more in that color, but with the small one, just because I feel like I'm kind of running out of room. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to overlap a little bit. Well, no, maybe I'm not. Okay, not sure. All right. Hold that thought. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to go to the Pretty in Pink. Let me clean this off. Let me kind of smack it dry. And let's do the Pretty in Pink. And I'll put this one like almost completely on, pick it up, give it that little turn, and put it down again. And again, that's really faint, so from where you are, you might not be able to see that, but that's okay. The person who gets the card will definitely see that, I promise. Okay, put it down, pick it up, give it a little clockwise turn, put it down and pick it up. Okay, I'm happy with that. I don't think I need to mess with that at all. Now, what I could do, and what I maybe should have done, you can tell this one's not as well thought out as some of them are. I knew I just wanted to play with this today. There is a stamp in here that stamps a bunch of little stars. Now, since I didn't get too much of the summer splash in there, I'm wondering if I could come in now with the summer splash and maybe not, I don't want to do the whole thing. It would have been better if it was in the background, not gonna lie, but I'm gonna ink it up and then just do like little pieces on the edge. Like here. I'm kind of inking up the whole thing because I'm not sure how far I'm going to go into it. And so I really am just doing edges. And that just fills in those white spots a little if you're one of those people who's bothered by too much white. And then there is also, and I'm wondering if I should kind of swap out colors, there's also a round stamp that goes in the center. Now, I've seen people make this a card similar to this with just a little tiny embellishment in the center, but that, to be honest, that looked a little funny to me because you've got this big hole and a little embellishment. So there are 2 circles, one for each size of stamp. So how about if we do sort of like the opposite colors? So I could do like Petunia Pop in the middle of the Summer Splash. Assuming I can get it in the middle. Okay, not bad. So that gave me a little bit of a, whatever, spackling look, and I'm okay with that. And then what if we did, well, now I have no choices, right? So now I could do Summer Splash in the middle of Petunia Pop. Nope, I have to do it in the middle of Petal Pink or Pretty in Pink, so I don't have to do Pretty in Pink on Pretty in Pink. And again, you might not like that. You might want to use, that was a little off center, but I'm going to survive with that, okay. And really, to keep it from being off center, you do need to kind of get your head under it. Okay, and then now Pretty in Pink in the Petunia Pop. Let's clean that off a little bit. Okay. And then, yes, Pretty in Pink. I'm going to bring it down a little bit so I can maybe get over it and get it right. And no matter what I do, I'm just that one was perfect, but the others are just a smidge off center. Probably just means that I'm a little off kilter, but that's okay. All right. So that's just a basically simple card. And if you don't want to do the 2-step stamping, there's nothing that says you have to. Although it's really not that hard, and again, I don't think anybody's going to make a big stink about the fact that it's a little off balance. And then, I didn't really think about this. Hold on, we're going to do something with that. So I'm going to put that on here, and then, where's my glue? There we go. I have some other fun and exciting news. My son, my daughter-in-law, and I have all been invited to a wedding. And what makes it exciting is that it's a wedding being held in a castle in Waterford, Ireland, like where Waterford crystal comes from. And we're going. I wasn't sure that everybody would be on board with this because it's a bit of an expense, but the bride and groom are actually springing for 2 nights in this castle for all the guests. And then if you want to stay longer than just 2 nights, you're on your own. And I said to my kids, you know, I've been to Ireland before, and I was there for 15 days, and I didn't even feel like that was enough. I was only there once. But, oh look, I missed one. I missed one. Okay, let's see if I can get back and do that one. So we're all, well, I don't have to get time off because, you know, I'm retired. But they are going to try to get maybe a week off from work. And we're going to see about renting a bed and breakfast and either going ahead of the wedding or staying after the wedding. Not quite sure which yet, and my daughter has kind of put herself in charge of going online and looking up bed and breakfasts and places to stay in Ireland, and we're just really excited about it. The wedding is a black tie affair, which does not mean a tuxedo. My son didn't know that, so he was a little relieved. I'm going to stamp a small one of these for the inside of the card with the petunia pop. And I'm going to stamp off a little bit just so that there's room for writing something. Okay, oh sure, the perfect one I get when it doesn't matter. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but it's on the inside of the card. And it's almost perfect. Maybe not totally, but almost. And then, what did I do? Lost the card already. There it is. Petunia Pop is the light pink. Okay. So Pretty in Pink, which I keep wanting to call Petal Pink, but that's not the color we have anymore. Well, yes, we do have it, but it's not what it is. Anyway, so black tie for men means that women have to wear gowns. So I guess things have changed a little bit as far as the rules go about that. So a really nice cocktail dress, I guess, is okay. It doesn't have to be something that looks like a bridesmaid's dress kind of thing. So that means we're going shopping, I guess. That should be fun. So I'm getting pretty excited about this. And it's not until December, by the way. It's not happening right away, but I'm still getting excited about it. Okay, so now we can put the inside on this card. Whoops. Okay. You know, and I definitely could have chosen a card-based color that was one of these three colors, but I don't know. I like it. It's not exactly a match, but I don't, you know. So these are all the new in colors. It's not every one of them, but it's 3 of the 5 new in colors, and they're meant to coordinate. So I knew that was okay. But I just really like Azure Afternoon. What can I tell you? Okay, sentiment-wise, let's see what we've got. I was almost thinking, even though I took some out, well, it certainly does look like a let's celebrate or a happy birthday or something like that. It looks like a happy card for sure. So let me see what I've got in the way of scraps here. And then maybe, I still like the Petunia Pop. It's my favorite. So it says happiest birthday. And let's stamp that in Petunia Pop. Alright, I still feel like that one's looking a little funky. Sometimes on the photopolymer stamps, your inks will bead up, especially if it's a newer ink pad, which this is, and especially if it is a juicy ink pad, which this is. So you just have to maybe do a little bit more cleaning or a little bit more checking it out. This looks better. And I'm going to hold it down for a while, and I am going to press a little bit so that if it's a little bit beaded up, it'll get spread out. So that I'm not loving that. And that could be because it's a little bit wet. Like I said, just a little bit of a juicy ink pad. So I'm going to try it different this time and not press so hard and see if that helps. Yep, I'm not liking that either. Alright, so there's another thing that we can do. There's always another thing. So the other thing that you can do if you have an ink pad that seems too juicy is you can take a spoon and you can take some of the ink and like push it away from the center. And this actually does work. I'm just going to push it out to the side so that there's not quite as much ink in the center. Doesn't always work, but sometimes it works. And then stamp right in the center where you pushed ink away from. And let's see if that's any better. Okay, it's better, but you can see, and maybe you can't see, but I can see. It just kind of looks a little wet. You know what I mean? Like it, like watercolor spreads out. It looks like it's spreading out a little bit. And then, oh, I don't know. I don't have any punches right in front of me. Let's see, a small punch. I don't want to mess around with dies. And since this is kind of circular, I think a circle punch would be good. So let's see if a 1.5 inch punch will work, and yes, it will. Okay. And then we can put that right there. I kind of feel like I'd like something behind it though. So let's see. Well, I was hoping for like a 1 3/4, but maybe I don't have one. Or maybe I don't know exactly where it is. So we're going to take a piece of the Berry Burst. And this is a 2 inch punch, and we'll see how that looks. Well, it's a little big, but it's not awful, but it's going to cover up, unless I put it down here, it's going to cover up a lot of the things that I worked so hard to stamp. But I just feel like this needs something now. So another alternative, hang on, would be to go back to the 1.5 inch punch and just do kind of an offset sort of thing. It's still going to cover up some, but not all. I kind of like that better. All right, so I don't want to put ink on the whole thing. Ink, glue. I definitely don't want to put ink on the whole thing. There we go, so like that. And then I could grab a couple of dimensionals. Let's see. I don't need the minis for that. And pop it up on a couple of dimensionals. Well, I still don't want to cover up too much of that green since it's the only place I used it. So how about like that? Okay. All right, so that's card number 1. Card number 2, let me figure out even if I kind of want to go, well, they're kind of similar. So card number 2, and this time I think I'll try to get the background thing right. So card number 2 is going to use Berry Burst, Lemon Lime Twist, Daffodil Delight, and Azure Afternoon. But it's going to be on a white card base with a separate stamped layer. Okay, so sometimes we do that. I'm going to get some scrap paper just in case. And now I'm going to get that star, asterisk, whatever you want to call it, stamp. And I'm going to get it right this time. So I'm going to stamp pretty much all of the colors, just kind of all over the place. So a little bit of Berry Burst there, and maybe there. Maybe I'll even stamp one off, make it a little bit lighter. Then I'm going to throw in some, excuse me, Lemon Lime Twist. Definitely want to clean off in between. Okay, a little Lemon Lime Twist. Maybe some there, and maybe one stamped off someplace, okay? And then Daffodil Delight. to some of those colors, and I might not. We'll just see what it looks like. Okay, this is your afternoon there, and maybe a little bit there, and some there, and maybe some on the edge there. And then, all right, let's go back to the lemon lime twist, I think. And we're going to cover a lot of this up, but I just want to make sure that I've got a little bit of something peeking through almost everywhere. Okay, so that just creates a little background for us. And then I have these cutouts, which were done using these two dies. Okay, one with the pointy, makes a pointy cut, and one with the kind of rounded cut. So I've got these, and I'm just going to kind of put them here and there. And I hope I did enough. I did 2 azure afternoon. Well, you know what else? I told you what colors I was using, but then for some reason I did a peach pie. I think I had that in my head at one point and then changed my mind, but I did peach pie. And without it, I don't think we're going to have enough, so I think we're going to use the peach pie. Now, if I had been a smart cookie, what I would have done is I would have put the adhesive backing on these and then die cut them, because then they would have been turned into stickers. But did I do that? No, I did not. So the alternative at this point is to glue them on, which is okay. I don't think I have... I'm not sure if I have any glue in this fine tip glue bottle or if it's clogged or what, because my fine tip glue bottles have suddenly started acting up. It's kind of weird because they haven't acted up the whole time I've had them, and now they are. So we're going to put in the center, that's where we'll put the majority of it, and then just do little dots. And believe me, this little dot of this Tombow liquid glue really will hold, I promise. Okay, and then let's not put it right on top of where I have that color though. Okay, and then what I sometimes do is I just take a piece of scrap paper and I put it down and I rub on it just to make sure that the glue really spreads out. And it doesn't seem to stick to the scrap paper. So far it's been working well for me. Okay, and then in the center, and then again just little dots. You know, because you want it fairly small, so you don't want it squeezing out and making the front of your card sticky, if you can help it. Okay, and we'll put that one down here maybe. And then just put the paper down, shove it around a little bit. I'm starting to have second thoughts about this, although it's not that far off from the yellow. I could just leave a blank spot and fill it in later, but I really don't want to do that. So we're just going to do the whole thing. Another one of my strange color choices, but that one really wasn't on purpose. I, for some reason, was thinking about using that color and then decided against it, but then went ahead and cut it out anyway. Okay. Put down. And this is just a good way to make sure it's really down in all the spots. And then if you see that there's something sticking up, you can get the fine tip glue pen under it. Alright, let's see. This is kind of small, and my spacing wasn't great here. I put it here. No. I should have moved that down a little bit, probably. Oh, that's alright. I thought it wasn't going to fit, but it fits. Should be using my tweezers, by the way, instead of putting my fingers in the glue. And they're right here somewhere. here they are, right here. So if I put the tweezers kind of in the middle, then I can get all the tips. And I can get the middle, and I can put it down without having to put my fingers on it. What do you think of that? All right, so that's just, pretty basic. Get that up there. Where's my bone folder? There it is. Just burnish that down a little bit. Just helps to keep the card closed. I could pop this up, just give it a little bit more dimension since we didn't pop up the flowers. I would not pop up these particular flowers because the petals are so delicate that unless you've glued the petals down and just popped up the middle, I just don't think it would be a good idea. All right, so it's really like white on white, but it's just kind of a different look. And then I can still use my piece of paper to just give the whole thing a press without worrying about hitting those petals with my fingers and loosening them up. Okay, now for this one, I could put a sentiment just on the inside since it kind of is nice there. I feel like there's a little spot like right here that I left open where I could put my happy birthday. Another cute way of doing this, there's a bunch of sentiments on here that say things like, they kind of go together, they're mix and match, like this is your time to celebrate, this is your day, your year, your month, happy birthday, happiest birthday to you, hip hip hooray. And I kind of like the this is your day thing, and I wondered like how it would be if you put, let's see, I'm going to use the Berry Burst, how it would be if you put on the outside all right, now I just got a little ink right there on the stamp, and I have learned from experience that when you do that, it ends up getting on your whatever you're doing. So I'm cleaning it again. This block is a little too big. So I'm going to try to get it straight and just write on the card, stamp, this is your, and then actually, how about if I take one of these blocks, one of these little ones that have the little dots on them, and use that for the stamp that says day, and then on the inside, stamp the word day. And just that. Or I could stamp day and then maybe happy birthday on the bottom. I don't know. I don't know where to put it. Close to the top, I think. Okay, pretty good. If I wanted to, I could also stamp it so that I put both of these stamps on the same block, but maybe inked one up in one color and one up in another. So it said, this is your day in azure, or this is your in azure afternoon, and said day in another color. That's just another option. So there we go. Pretty simple birthday card and very pretty, very festive. All right, card number 3. So I'll tell you, my son has a birthday in early July. So his birthday party was always, right around the 4th of July. So I very often purchased like red, white, and blue napkins and paper plates and all of that stuff. And he kind of had a 4th of July themed birthday party, which he never complained about, which is good. So we've got an inside here. We've got just your basic 8.5 by 5.5 by scored at 4 1/4. So that's our red, and that's real red. And then I've got a, this is Blueberry Bushel, because I thought the Night of Navy was almost a little too dark, and I wanted it to be a little bit more festive. So this one, I believe, is 3 by 3 1/4. And then this one is, well, I'm not sure, something by 2.5, I think it is. So, and it can't be 3, so it's got to be like maybe 2 3/4 by 2 1/4. I just wanted to do kind of like a layering sort of thing, and this would be where we would do a little bit of stamping, and then we would also do some gluing on. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to take, I think, just the small one. Where did it go? Where are you, small one? Oh, this is the small one. That's the big one. Oh, I have a hot glue gun plugged in next to me for something I'm going to just show you next, and I keep bumping into it with my elbow and hurting myself. All right, so I need our little stars again, and the blueberry bushel stamp pad, and I'm just going to stamp some blueberry bushel stars around, kind of off the edge. In a couple of different spots. Okay. And then I used only, did I use only? Yeah, only the small die? Nope, I used them both. Okay. And I just kind of want to spread those around on here. Let's get this out of the way since I don't need it right now. And I think I'm going to glue this on because I think some of those are going to hang off the edge. So I want to get this in place. So we're certainly way past the 4th of July. But red, white, and blue is patriotic. So you've got Memorial Day, Flag Day, 4th of July, and I know those are all past too. Veterans Day, if you made a Veterans Day card for someone, like a thank you to a veteran, this would be kind of nice for that. And maybe some people just like red, white, and blue, and it doesn't have to be any special reason, right? All right, so now that I'm done stamping on this, at least I think I am, how do I want to do that? Would I do that this way too, or do I want to offset it even more? Let's not glue it down yet. Let me just do a little bit of dry fitting so I can see. So I have one in white that I know is not going to show up too much, but I could put a red one under it, and that'll help make it stand out a little bit more, as long as they can hang off the edge. And then maybe move that red one up a little bit, and then another blue one over here. Should they all overlap a little bit? I could. Well, I was going to say I could do a little more stamping on there with the small one, but I'm just not sure. No, I don't think I want to, but I think I'm going to straighten that out so it's just these two. No, I like it kind of this way better. Oh, sometimes it just takes a long time to make up your mind, doesn't it? And again, when and if you decide to make a card like this, using this type of a layout, you decide how you want it to look. It's entirely up to you. I could have also done some stamping, like maybe in the blueberry bushel here, or tone on tone with real red, and I didn't do that, but I could have. I could maybe, and I think maybe I will. I did get the real red ink pad out, so maybe what I'll do is just do some more stars, only in real red, just to give a little bit more of a backdrop, even for like that white piece that we were talking about. Yeah, maybe that'll help. So let's get a red one. So I've got what? One red one that's large, one red one that's small, one blue one that's large, and one blue one that's small. I think I kind of thought that out, but you never know. So today was a beautiful day, wasn't it? Not too hot, not too cold, at least here in the Finger Lakes. So I'll put the red one down. And then just smush it down with my scrap paper again. And then I think I like the white one sort of partially over the top on that one. But let's just see. Maybe the blue one off the edge that way. And a blue one here. And a red one there. Alright, let's do the white one and then go from there. So these are the reverse tweezers, and we sell these only as part of the embossing kit. So you get the reverse tweezers, and you get the tray for the embossing powder, and you get the embossing buddy in a kit. So a little bit of overlap there. Do some flip-flopping there because I don't want red and then red. Yeah, I think I like that better. So we'll put the blue up there. So this is a little fiddly, you know, plus I had to die cut everything and I didn't want to make you necessarily watch that. But again, at one point when the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine first came out, someone did ask me to do a demonstration video of that, and I did. It's on here somewhere, and I hope I hashtagged it. I wasn't always doing that at first because I didn't think that the hashtag thing really worked, but it absolutely does. So you just come to Roberta's Creative Stampers and hashtag fun folds or hashtag birthday cards or whatever, Valentine's cards, 3D projects, and you'll find something. Gift boxes, things like that. So if I hashtag that video, you should be able to find it that way, but I'll see if I can go back and check. If not, I suppose I could always just do another one, huh? There are definitely some tips and tricks to using the embossing folders and the embossing machine for dies. And it is helpful to know them. Is this the last one? No. Okay, so, okay. There we go. I know I got glue on all the tips, but I might not have held it down long enough. It typically does dry pretty fast. I do feel like the heat in this room, has anybody else found this, might be affecting the glue. It just seems to me to be just the tiniest bit thinner. I didn't get glue on one of these tips. I'm just not sure that it's that one since that one's not doing anything. All right, I love red, white, and blue. I think that's very festive. And then on the inside of the card, instead of putting more of those on there, we could just do a stamped thing. So maybe a little bit of the red. Hang on. And then maybe the small one. And by the way, you could also turn these things into flowers. So these little things could be flowers, and you could take them and offset them, or put a small one over a large one and offset it, and I'll play with that at some point too. But that would be kind of a cool thing to do with it. And then I think I'm just going to put that down a little ways off. And then how about there is another happy birthday sentiment, but it's kind of in cursive. Actually, I think I like the bolder one for this card. So let's do the red. It's a little bit more festive than the blue. Keep remembering to use that. And always take a look at your stamp before you actually stamp, because if there's something that you missed, you can sometimes spot that and save yourself some aggravation. Okay, happiest birthday. That's what it says, not happy birthday, but happiest birthday. Okay, so that is card number 3. And then I just have a little something to show you real quick, which is why I have the hot glue plugged in here. And we will definitely play with that a little bit more. Oh, look at that, I was going to glue it right to my pad. Wouldn't that have been special? Yes, indeed, that would have been interesting. Okay, so we have card number 1, card number 2, and card number 3. I think they're all very festive and certainly different color families for sure, but those are our 3 cards. And what I wanted to show you real quick was what you can make with this die, and then I wanted to show you a mistake that I made, and I wanted to show you that so that, you know, you wouldn't make the same mistake. Because that's what I do here. I teach you not to make my mistakes. So when you cut something out with this die, this is what it looks like. And here's what I did not notice when I first played with it. Just like the 2 different stamps and dies for the floral type image, one side of this is like pinking shears, is like a picket fence, maybe you could call it, and the other side is scalloped. It takes 2 of these to make a rosette, and this is what we call a rosette. So you would have to die cut 2 pieces of matching paper, presumably, to make one rosette. And that's what I did. And then I glued them together, and I realized when I glued them together that one half of my rosette has the little picket fence side, and the other half has the scalloped, because I didn't put it together quite right. Again, if I hadn't pointed it out to you, who knows, you might never have noticed it. So the way this works is that you fold it kind of accordion style, you know, like a fan, like we used to make fans when we were kids. So here are 2 that I cut out from this really fun paper here, which is the Full of Life 6x6 Designer Series paper. It's pretty amazing. It's very bright. It looks like this one looks like a watercolor palette. All right, and you've got, I forget how many designs you've got. Does it say? There's 48 sheets. And you've got 4 each, 3 each, 4 each. And then they're 2-sided. So one side has these really kind of bright and bold designs, and the other side has kind of like a watercolor wash. So something like that is on the back of that, and this is on the back of this one that I just used, and then you've got these. So all different color groupings. It's just beautiful. Just beautiful. So to make these, you have to fold these back and forth, like I said, kind of like a fan. And it doesn't matter which way you fold it based on which design you want to use. That part I don't think matters. Maybe I'll find out that I'm wrong, but I don't think it does. And it's scored for you, so the die actually does the scoring for you. So you don't need to use your bone folder or your score tool or your cutting board or, yeah, your, whatever you call that thing. What is that thing? Oh my gosh. You don't need to use your trimmer. That's it, your paper trimmer. Wow. You just go back and forth, and one end has a little tab on it, okay? So you're going to do each of those. Now, I made rosettes like this at Christmas time. You might remember, you might not. And I was convinced that I could make them using regular glue and that I did not need to use hot glue. Have you ever gotten really stubborn about something and just made up your mind that you could do something even after it was quite obvious that you couldn't? So this is what happened last night. This is what causes me to have what I call craft room temper tantrums, where I just get really annoyed basically with myself. Because I'm insisting on doing something one way, even though my brain is telling me it's not going to work. So for gluing the two strips together, you can absolutely use the glue. So now I want to make sure that I'm connecting a tab side with a tab, or a picket fence side, you know what I mean? So that the picket fence is all on one side and the scallop is all on the other side. Sometimes I feel like I'm not making sense, because if I flip it around, which is what I did because I believed I needed to attach the two tabs, if I flip it around, that's not going to happen. And obviously I did not need to attach the two tabs. The tab, however, is where I'm going to put my glue. And yes, the glue will work for this part. Rosettes are tricky. They have a kind of a mind of their own. So I'm putting this tab underneath this other fold here at the end of the other side, and then kind of squishing it together, making it sure it's lined up, and then I'm just going to bring the whole thing together, fold it all up again, and I'm going to hold it like, I don't know, maybe count to 10, maybe not count to 10. Like I said, this glue does dry fast. I feel like the heat and humidity in my craft room might be making that change in some way. So that's the only caveat. And I've heard crafters who live in places that are really humid, like South Florida and whatnot, I've heard them say that. But I've also heard people who live in dry places like Arizona say that that affects some of their stuff, or that their ink pads dry out more quickly. Okay, so that's put together now. So the way that you put together a rosette is that you then glue these two things together. So again, we're using the regular glue. I can do that. And that's where the rosette starts to look weird and have a mind of its own and make you think that you've really just messed up. So I'm going to put glue, let's see, you do kind of have to think that through a little bit. I'm going to put glue on the inside of that tab piece. So you've got to check it out, play with it a little bit first. And you don't want to use a ton of glue, because the more glue you use, the longer it takes to dry. Okay, so now I'm just going to squish it a little bit. I don't have to roll the whole thing up again. And I'm going to hold that so it'll dry, because you don't want it to come apart when you do the next part, because the next part is the part that can make you crazy if you don't take your time and pay attention. So you're looking at this, and you're saying to yourself, how in heaven's name does that turn into this? So you need two circles. Some people go with smaller circles. I decided to make them both kind of decorative, even though one side you may never see the circle. This way I had a choice, and these were two colors that were demonstrated in this paper. So I'm going to take this now and kind of set it down on the table and force it to do that, which is actually kind of easy. But the minute you let go of it, it turns into a lampshade. See what I mean? So you've got to hold it down. And now you've got to, while you're holding it, get your hot glue gun. And this is why the liquid glue just would not work. You want to glob some glue into the center. Oh, and this is a problem too, because my glue gun, the stick is like part way through, so you know how that is. When it's partway through, you need to put in another one to push it out. So, but it'll work. So first of all, I'm globbing some glue in the center, right where that hole is. And then I'm still holding it in place. It's going to give me a hard time. And I'm going around and around in a circle, no bigger than my circle there is. And then I'm putting it back on its little stand. I don't know if you can see that or not. And then real quick before it dries, I'm getting my circle. And I'm going to try to make sure that I get it in the center, which I did not do. But it's kind of hard because you almost need 3 hands. All right, so if it's not in the center, I'm going to live with it. And I'm going to hold that down because, you know, hot glue dries pretty quickly, but you've got to wait until it's no longer hot. So basically that's how you know it's set, is when it's cold. And, you know, it has that stringy junk that gets on your hands and all over the place. All right, now it's still not safe until you've glued down the other side. So I'm going to take the hot glue gun again and hope that it gets through. It's coming. So like I said, this is the point where you would typically take another glue stick and stick it in there. So I just stuck my finger in there instead and gave it a little push. So it's not working as fast as it should, but it's okay. I'm pushing it through with my finger. And you want a good glob in the center, and then you just want to go around the edge a little bit. Again, no bigger than the circle that you're using. And you could just use a circle punch to punch out a circle. There's nothing that says you have to use one of those dies. And then you want to get that circle down there pretty quick before it starts to dry. And you can always just pull off those little stringy things afterwards. So you could absolutely use this on the front of a card, I would say, that you weren't going to mail, or a card that you were going to mail but enclosed in a package. So you see that one's just a little off center. Well, so is this one, truth be told. They're both a little off center. But it is kind of hard because you almost need 3 hands. So some people would say, yeah, I'm just not going to bother with that. But, you know, just think about how pretty this would look on a package, on top of a package. Or for Christmas time, I put string behind here and I hung them and used them on the tree as an ornament. I've got a bunch of them right behind me, but I'm not going to go get them now. But they just make the prettiest little thing in place of a bow on a package, and you can decide which side you like, which is why I like to put the decorative circle on both sides, because then I can make up my mind later which side I want to be the front. And now they're not going to come apart. The liquid glue is just not going to work unless you're going to sit there holding it. And by the way, these things are sturdy. I took my phone and put it on top to hold it dry. These blocks will hold it dry. It's, of course, our designer series paper is pretty sturdy. So you can put something with some weight to it on it to make sure it's dry. But with the glue gun, I don't think you have to worry about that so much. So that is my strong recommendation, is that you use a hot glue gun and do as I say, not as I do. Because I just made myself crazy. Okay, so those are our projects for today. I'm going to put them out again so you can see them. Excuse my arm. And I'm quite happy with the way all of those came out. And I will try to get some pictures posted. Excuse the hot mess around here. That's usually a hot mess. I also wish I could find, if anyone knows of one, a hot glue gun that has an on-off switch, so that in case I forget to unplug it, at least it's not on all the time, or one that shuts off maybe if it's left on a certain amount of time, because that's why hot glue guns scare me, because I'm afraid I'll forget to unplug them. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you a week from today, and with any luck, I will be on time then. Have a great week.